Hey guys, this is lesson 11.4 and we're going to be looking at the surface area of pyramids. So Kara is making a model of the pyramid of the sun for a history project, and the base is a square with a side length of 12. Each rectangular face has a height of 7 inches. What is the surface area of Kara's model? So the first thing we've got to do is we've got to label the square. So it tells us up here that our base is a square. So here's our square base. And it tells us that each side length is 12. So this blank right here is for our side length, which is 12. And since this is a square, that means every single side of this square would be 12. Then it tells us that each triangular face has a height of 7. So that means right here where we've got this dotted line and it's showing the height, this would be 7 inches. So we have it labeled. So next we're going to find the area of the square. So we've got to find the area of the square. So remember, when we're finding the area of the square, we say A equals side squared. My side is 12. And 12 squared means 12 times 12, which is 144. So I'm going to go ahead and write that bigger in here. So this is 144 inches squared. Alright, so we've done that. We found the area of the square. Now we're going to find the area of the triangles. So we're going to start with this triangle right here because it gives us the height, and the base right here is still going to be 12. So that's still 12. So we're going to use our formula for the area of a triangle, which is area equals half base times height. And if I'm going too fast, make sure you pause this anytime you need to. That's the good thing about videos. You can pause it and slow it down anytime you need to. So here, area equals half. My base is 12. My height is 7. So half of 12 is 6. And 6 times 7 is 42. So that means for this triangle right here, that would be 42 inches squared. But that also means that this one would be 42 inches squared, as will this one and this one. So to get our total surface area, we need to add all of these together. Or there's 4 triangles, so I'm going to take my triangles and multiply by 4. That gives me 168. So for the triangles, the area is 168. And then I'm going to add the area from the square. So I get that my total surface area, so my surface area equals 312 inches squared. Let me zoom out a little bit so you can see all of that. Okay, so all we did, going back over this, is we found the area of the base, and then we found the area of one triangle, and then multiplied that by 4, and then we added that base with it to get 312. Alright, the next example, well, here, let's look at this first. Sometimes you need to find the total area of the lateral faces of a solid figure, but you don't need to include the base. So when we do that, that's called lateral area. Alright, so Trevor is making a tent in the shape of a triangular pyramid. The 3 sides of the tent are made of fabric, and the bottom will be left open. So the bottom down here is either dirt or grass. There's not going to be a cover for that. So that's not like one of these tents you go and get at Walmart that has the cover in the bottom. This is one he's just making out of some fabric, and he's not worrying about the bottom. It's going to be open. So it tells us that the faces have a height of 10, and that's labeled for us already. And the base is 6. That's also labeled for us. So what is the area of the fabric Trevor needs to make the tent? Alright, so first we're going to first we're going to draw and label a net for the pyramid. So if I'm looking at the base, I can tell that the base here is a triangle. So here's my triangular base. Okay, so that means off each side of the base I have a triangle. Well, alright, so this is my base. I'm just going to write the word base there because I'm not going to fill in anything there. However, I know that the height of each triangle is 10. And I know that the base here is 6. Okay? So there I've drawn it and I've labeled it. So now we're going to shade the lateral area. So I have a pencil and I'm going to lightly shade so that I can still see what I've labeled here. So we're shading these 3 triangles. So we're going to find the area of the triangle that we've labeled here. So we're saying half of base times height because these are all triangles. So I'm going to say half of my base is 6 and my height is 10. Half of 6 is 3 and I multiply that by 10 and get 30. So what that means is that each one of these triangles has an area of 30. So to get my lateral area that excludes the base, all I would do is I'd take the 30 and multiply it by the number of lateral faces, which was 3. And that would give me 90, and this would be feet squared. Alright, so let's look at a few more examples of that. Okay, so we're going to use a net to find the surface area of the square pyramid. So we have a square pyramid. So the base, so remember our formula when we're dealing with a square base, because our base is a square, is area equals s squared. So each side of the base is 5. So we're saying 5 squared. And remember, 5 squared means 5 times 5. So here, this would be 25 centimeters. So the base of the square is 25 centimeters squared. Now, each side is a triangle. So remember, with a triangle, we say area equals half base times height. So I'm saying half of my base is 5 and my height is 8. So I'm going to go ahead and say half of 8, which is 4 times 5. So instead of halving the 5, I half the 8. So 4 times 5 is 20. So that means that each triangle is 20. So to get my surface area, I'm going to go ahead and take that base, which is 25, and I'm going to add it to my triangles. So the 4 takes care of the 4 sides of the triangle, and I'm multiplying by 20. So this would be 25 plus 4 times 20 is 80. So when I add those together, I get 105 centimeters squared. Alright, number 2. A triangular pyramid has a base with an area of 43 centimeters squared and lateral faces with bases of 10 centimeters and heights of 8.6 centimeters. What is the surface area? So I'm going to go ahead and draw a net for this. Since this is a triangular pyramid, I'm going to start with my triangle in the middle, and I'm going to draw triangles off each side. Now, it told me, so my base is in the middle, and it told me that the base has an area of 43. So I've already got my area for that. Okay? Then it tells me that each of the lateral faces has a base of 10. So I'm just going to do that with this one right here. So this would be 10 for the base. And the height is 8.6. So since I don't have to worry about finding the area of the one in the center, I'm just going to go ahead and focus on this one here. So area equals half base times height. So I'm saying half of 10 times 8.6. Half of 10 is 5. And 5 times 8.6 is 43. So that means that this one's also 43, this one's 43, and this is 43. So since all four have an area of 43, we'll just take 43 and multiply by 4 to get 172, and that would be centimeters squared. Didn't circle that very good. There we go. Number 3, we have a square pyramid with a side length of 3 feet and lateral faces with heights of 2 feet. What is the lateral area? So I'm going to go ahead and draw a net again. So it's a square pyramid, so I'm putting the square in the middle and triangles off each square. So it says that the base has a side length of 3, so every side is 3, and the height of the triangles is 2. So the height's 2. So first off, I'm going to get, it wants to know what's the lateral area. So I'm not going to have to worry about getting the area here. So I'm just going to go ahead and put an X so I know I don't have to find the area of the square. So I'm going to use the formula area equals half base times height. So I'm saying half of 3 times 2. I'm going to go ahead and say 3 times 2 first, which is 6, and half of 6 is 3. So that means each triangle, each of the lateral faces on the outside is 3. So to get my lateral area, I would multiply by 4 to get 12, and that would be feet squared. Okay, number 4, again, we are using nets to find the surface area. So I'm going to go ahead and draw my net. It's a square on the bottom, so it's a square pyramid. Okay, so if it's a square pyramid, and this side's 8, that means this other side's 8. So 8 times 8 would give me an area of 64 here. So all I did was said, I took the side and I squared it. So area is 8 squared, which means 8 times 8, which is 64. So that's where I got the 64. So now, notice that my height for each triangle is 9. And something I didn't say that you need to know is that your height is going to be the same for all of the triangles. They have to have the same height to make a pyramid. So area equals half base times height. So I'm saying half of 8 times 9. Half of 8 is 4. And multiply that by 9 to get 36. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4 triangles that would have an area of 36. So we're going to multiply by 4 to get 144. Now, I've still got to add that 64 to get the whole surface area. So add 64. And we get 208 feet squared for your surface area. Number 5. There's my net. Here's my base. Here's my height. So I'm going to start with the center. So area equals S squared. So I'm saying area equals 10 squared. That means 10 times 10. So that means our area is 100. Then I'm using area equals half base times height for my triangles. My base of my triangles are 10. And my height is 6. half of 10 is 5.